has been an awakening. Have you felt it?
I've really got to stop falling asleep in the desert. Because this is movie night. Hello and welcome to Movie Night. I'm Jonathan Paula. Tonight, on the eve of its worldwide premiere, we'll be reviewing the newest entry in the Star Wars saga. But if you haven't heard my thoughts on the first 6 films, I encourage you to go back and watch those older episodes. But for now, let's review The Force Awakens, which, like all my reviews, will be free of major spoilers. After unprecedented levels of hype, speculation, and feverish anticipation, the 7th installment in the iconic Star Wars franchise was finally released worldwide in mid-December of 2015. Although $200 million was spent on production and even more on advertising, this fantasy space epic is projected to earn almost $2 billion, which would make it the 3rd highest grossing film in history. Taking on the daunting task of updating this classic franchise without tarnishing its legacy is director J.J. Abrams, who successfully weaves the old with the new in a truly magical way. 30 years after the events of Return of the Jedi, a new sinister threat has risen to rule the galaxy, unless a few young heroes and some familiar allies can stop them. The PG-13 rated film introduces a host of new, awesome characters. John Boyega is charming, hilarious, and strong as a stormtrooper who deserts the First Order. Daisy Ridley is a resourceful and resilient scavenger who gets caught up in this intergalactic struggle. Adam Driver is a moody and unpredictable villain that shares many similarities with Darth Vader. Oscar Isaac is a bit less developed as an X-Wing fighter pilot, and a spunky ball-shaped droid named BB-8 steals the show in many early sequences. This core group represent the heart of the new trilogy, and I'm definitely excited to see where their stories take them in future installments. Virtually unknown prior to casting, newcomer Ridley is especially impressive here, handling the fast-paced action and softer dramatic moments like a seasoned pro. Besides Driver, most of the bad guys are generally forgettable or unthreatening though, including Domhnall Gleeson, who seemed a bit uncomfortable. It was great, however, to see many of the returning characters, even if most are regulated to minor, almost cameo appearances, except for Harrison Ford, who was terrific as an older, crankier Han Solo, serving as a guide for Ridley and Boyega as well as the audience, quietly dispelling the myth of his storied history. It's true, all of it. The dark side, the Jedi, they're real. Ford seems more relaxed and comfortable than ever before, delivering humor and emotion effortlessly. His initial entrance is simple enough, but it totally gave me goosebumps. The 135-minute story parallels many beats of the first picture, A New Hope, for better and for worse. This reliance on familiarity isn't new ground for Abrams though, who lifted entire sections of earlier Star Trek pictures for his last effort, Into Darkness. While these moments are delivered in a bigger and more exciting way than what came before, it's hard not to feel like this is a faux remake instead of an original sequel. Like, did the bad guys really need to build a 3rd Death Star-like weapon? Speaking of excitement though, the action in this picture is downright incredible. Not only is it well choreographed and captured with longer, steadier camera moves, the visuals flawlessly blend practical effects with realistic CGI. Abrams' deliberate choice to give this picture a dirtier, lived-in aesthetic with more traditional sets and costumes definitely pays off. It helps the picture remain closer in appearance and tone to the original 3 films instead of the cartoony style of the prequels. Kinetic camera moves that whip around and follow behind the Millennium Falcon as it dives into a downed Star Destroyer make for awesome edge-of-your-seat thrills. And I'm also happy to report that JJ included very few lens flares this time around. Legendary composer John Williams thankfully returns with an all-new score, and while there aren't any big standout themes like Duel of the Fates or the Imperial March, this 83-year-old still delivers some excellent chills, especially when recycling leitmotifs of yesteryear. Ever since the conclusion of the original trilogy in 1983, fans have wondered if this series would ever get a proper sequel, myself included. But Star Wars creator George Lucas seemed content with producing only 3 prequels and leaving the film count at 6. But that finally changed in 2012 when Walt Disney acquired his production studio Lucasfilm for a sizable $4 billion. The The Force Awakens was immediately commissioned, and what followed can only be described as one of the biggest promotional rollouts in cinema history. Every product from perfume to bedsheets carried the Star Wars logo. But this years-long marketing campaign really needs to be praised. Not only did a trio of highly scrutinized trailers skillfully advertise the film's promise without revealing any plot elements, a slow trickle of appetizing glimpses and information were carefully announced. To put it simply, everyone's favorite space opera is in good hands with its new owner. The rebirth of the franchise came at a cost, however, as all novels, video games, and toys that made up the expanded universe were stricken from canon, as Disney's writers pave out a new path. Given the massive admiration for Lucas's original trilogy, The Force Awakens had enormous shoes to fill, especially considering it had to overcome the lukewarm reception of the prequel trilogy from the early 2000s. But it has matched or exceeded all expectations in a fantastic way, beautifully expanding this franchise for a new generation of fans. With a half-dozen sequels and spin-offs already in production, Star Wars is back in a big way. Exploring concepts of new beginnings and finding your purpose, this is a wonderful, rewatchable adventure for all ages, even if it does get a touch violent at times. Despite its derivative structure, The Force Awakens is easily the saga's best movie in 30 years. It's fun, fast, and damn entertaining. Now let's check out what a few others had to say about it. Mindful of the hype, the global reaction so far has been a strongly positive one, with audiences scoring this a 9 out of 10. And while this isn't a perfect film or even the best in the franchise, it's definitely worthy of my highest score. I thought it was amazing. Unfortunately, that does it for tonight's episode, but I'll be back before Christmas with my thoughts on some recent superhero films. But if you can't wait, click this information icon to watch some related reviews. Once again, my name is Jonathan Paula. May the Force be with you, and have a good movie night.